Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for making time to chat to me. I wanted to ask you some questions about the program you went on, but just before we start, what's the name of the charity you work for and your role?
So I work for a charity called Hospice Care. We're based down in Exeter in Devon, and I'm the head of public fundraising.
Great. And you and I have worked on and off, over the years, but then about 9, 10 months ago, you joined our Major Gift Mastery program. And it'd be really helpful if you could share what you made of that program. Was it helpful, and so on, and if so, how?
I did join the program, and it was one of the best decisions I've made. It was brilliant on many levels, and I know we've got limited time, but aside from the sort of camaraderie and that connection with a group of like-minded people, which you can't put a monetary value on, but believe me, there has been one for sure, for the fact that we've all kept in contact. I think for me, some of the biggest benefits that I've kind of pulled out that I can say had a real tangible difference were that lots of the conversations we had around storytelling. Um, I am drawn to the storytelling anyway, and I think probably I've always done a certain amount of storytelling within my role. I think what the program taught me is when to use stories to the most effect. So typically, I may have met someone who asked me what hospice care does. And like many, many fundraisers, I would have tried to get as much information in the shortest time possible. So I would have probably tried to include how many nurses we have, how many beds we have, how much it costs to run the services. And if that person was still listening, I would then have tried to introduce a story to show the difference all that made. And not long after joining the program, I think I had the obvious realization that I need to make it much clearer the difference it makes. So then what I did was I did a short version of what we do and then a much longer version of the difference it makes, but it still didn't feel right. And it wasn't until I got to the end of the program that what I realized is don't talk about any of that stuff, just go straight in with the difference your charity makes. And I think when you say something out loud, you can hear it for yourself that it's the right thing to say and that it's going to work, and that it's authentic, which is really important. And so now instead of meeting someone and saying how many beds we've got, etc., I say hospice care takes pain and other horrible symptoms away from people. It makes them feel safe and it gives them time to make plans and make memories with those they love. And we do this all as people are approaching the end of their life because that matters as much as any other day in their life. And I find now that introducing the hospice as some in those sort of terms straight away leads to questions. And I did this at a recent networking event, and I had a lovely conversation with the person I was talking to. They already support the hospice, but I could feel that talking in those terms elevated that conversation. And it was a little while after, 10, 15 minutes later, someone came up to me and said, I've just been asked to come over and ask you what hospice care does, because I'll really like the answer. And I was able to kind of say roughly the same. It's always slightly different, but something along those lines again. And now we've had a meeting about charity of the year. Yet to know how much it will raise, but I hope it will be in the region of say £10,000 in its first year, with a hope for future support as well. So you can't ever put it down to one particular thing, but I feel like that helped make that person make a decision on who they were going to support in that moment.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear you say that. And one of the themes I sometimes touch on is that really people don't ultimately people don't want to pay for stuff. even though internally we're used to talk about how many beds we are and how many nurses it takes to provide good care and so on. Ultimately, even if people ask that, they don't really want, it's not really moving or interesting to imagine them paying for stuff, but they do want to make positive shifts for people,
Oh,
take people out of pain, and into more positive uh, feelings and emotions and so on, or whatever shift from a negative space to a positive way of being, whatever the cause. So
oh,
thanks ever so much for bringing that to life so beautifully, and I totally see why that's a different quality of answer than they would have got from many fundraisers, I think, and the proof was that the way that they couldn't help but want to send other people to hear the way you communicate the difference the money makes. Um, I know that some of our focus in the program is about messaging, storytelling, what we say and what we don't say, and the order of those things. And also, some of it is about energy and proactivity and confidence to just sometimes connect in a way that can sometimes be really difficult, frankly, for many charities. And you were saying when we last spoke that you've felt more on the front foot in reaching out to people, getting more conversations, and that also has led not only to momentum and
mm,
confidence, but also to knock on effect of results.
mm. Yeah, I mean, I know lots of people who go through the program, they report having much higher levels of confidence, and that was certainly the case. I've never really minded picking up the phone. I think I think what it gave me was more of a focus when I did pick up the phone. That why was I picking up the phone? I'm not picking up. I think previously I may have decided that I needed to pick up the phone, and my outcome was going to be a meeting, and it was really important if they were going to say yes to a meeting that they would need to know all of this about the hospice. And if they didn't, they why would they decide that they wanted to meet with me? And I definitely think now I am much happier picking up the phone for what might seem like no reason, but no reason and the most important reason at the same time. So just to say thank you. And that I recently did that with a supporter. He was a supporter. He was somebody that was on our database for low level support, I would say, taking part in one of our low level campaigns, but on our database nevertheless. That because of some information I knew it was worth phoning this chap. So I simply called him to say thank you, and it was the most well received call that you could have imagined. He was just so delighted that somebody had taken the time to do that. What that led to is, which I hoped it would, a meeting with the company that he owns, who have now selected us as their charity of the year, and that he now is coming in for a personal tour of the hospice. So there's sort of plenty of opportunity there to develop that relationship, and that wouldn't have happened without that call, merely to say thank you.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? When luck goes in our favor,
Yes.
we celebrate, oh, this good thing happened today. It's a really interesting to track back the steps that led to this bit of good news or when it worked out. And I find it's amazingly often it steps back to a decision one day, a week ago, or 2 years ago, where we as a charity or we as a fundraiser could have done something differently. We could have talked ourselves out of making that extra thank you phone call.
Mm,
Doesn't mean every thank you phone call you make will lead to money, and nor should it. And a wonderful outcome, as you were saying, is to connect and help them feel good about the generous thing they did. But it is also true that when you study the successes, especially in high value fundraising, almost always we can track back to our level of proactivity and generosity and creativity that set things in motion to lead to this positive outcome, both for the supporter and for the charity.
I don't have that self-talk that it's luck. That was just luck that I phoned him and he was there, and but My dad used to say you make your own luck, and that I do believe that. I do believe that if you do it enough, that's not luck. There, that that's when luck turns to perseverance, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. Um, I was trying to remember at one point on the program you shared with our colleagues. Just we've got to go soon, but there was one more just to on this theme, so that our viewer can get a sense of the difference this proactivity can make. I think there was another gentleman who had been supporting with some donations, but
Mm.
it was a regular monthly gift. And again, similarly, you proactively did certain things that helped him connect and get a greater satisfaction with the difference the charity's making.
Mm. Yeah, we did. We had a supporter who had supported generously, but erratically over a number of years. Um, and I met with him, and we just connected. We just, you can tell that you're on the same wavelength. We had a lovely conversation. It went off on all sorts of realms other than fundraising and the cause, and all into his interest. It was a lovely conversation to have. And he asked me, at one point why I clearly love my job, and I think something I learned from the program is to not use fancy language. So just use be authentic, use the language you would use. And so I said I love my job because when I was at the hospice recently, the windows were open and I heard a family singing their hearts out around the bed of their loved one. They were singing Tainted Love by Soft Cell and they were having a ball. And I know that what our charity does enables that to happen. And that's why I love my job. And he said, if that charity means that much to you, then it means that much to me. And it was only, I don't know, I think about 3 weeks later that he came in and he had an update on the charity and where we are financially and one thing and another. And he committed to a more regular gift, a significant gift every month. And that too is why I love my job.
Congratulations, Sarah. Again, just hearing that snippet of a story without any detail at all, you've helped me connect to the amazing difference clearly hospice care makes to that family and others like it. So I see why the results are going in your favor. There's just one other thing I jotted down the other day because you used a phrase that really moved me about sort of reconnecting. I can't remember exactly, but you yourself personally reconnecting with how you feel about fundraising or something like that.
Yeah, so I spent far too much of my working life working for a large corporate company. And so I only discovered fundraising about 12 years ago. And I have loved it from the day I started. I should have started it much sooner. And I've never fallen out of love with it. But you can get bogged down in the nitty gritty and the process and the job. And I think coming on the program relit my fire and made me fall in love with the job again because it made me establish my priorities again and my role has changed slightly to enable that to happen, but I think being around other people that are like-minded, there was nobody on that course that didn't love their job because that's why they were on that course. And I think your passion, the passion of the mentors that you provide, all of that, yeah, I definitely left it feeling like I had a real fire in my belly to make a difference. So
Thank
thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. It's one thing to come on a course, it's another to really follow through, do certain things, and then the fire does come alive, doesn't it? I guess my last question, uh, you know, this isn't a one-day course, it is a quite a big deal. It is a 6-month program. If someone's watching this and they're thinking of coming on it and they're not quite sure if it'll be worth it, what would your recommendation be to them?
Do it. Do it. Honestly, you will get your investment back many times over. You know, those examples that I've given today, if those businesses raise that money as part of a charity of the year partnership, that's it. That's that investment covered and more. And this is, you know, you've come on the program once. I've still got all my notes. I read them. I can, you know. The other thing is, you obviously get access to all the bright spot learning. But our whole team are listening to the podcast. You know, it's all the extra benefits that you get from taking part. We have a WhatsApp group with everybody that was on the course. We we still have our teams meetups with them. There's always somebody now that is walking the same path as I am. So no, do it. Don't hesitate.
Mm. Well, thank you, Sarah, for your generous words, and thanks for making time. And most of all, congratulations on all your hard work and the fact that it's paying off for the charity. So really well done. Thanks for your time today, and I look forward to staying in touch. But for now, Sarah, thanks for joining me on the call.